Yo, what's up, everybody? Your friendly neighborhood physical therapist, Dr. Ryan Welton, coming to you live from a very cold Tampa Bay area. Apparently, it's about to be a record here. Apparently, it's going to be like 32 tomorrow morning or something, which is a record for us. So, I got to cover up my avocado plants and citrus plants, all that stuff. If you're new to follow me, I am a physical therapist. I have a chronic pain clinic. I call it the I've failed everything clinic because people come in here all the time. I've failed everything. Nobody knows what's wrong with me. I get exceptional results within that patient population. Um, and I have been teaching how I do this because I develop protocols. So people have been cutting and pasting it for the better part of a decade. Pretty cool. So there's a link here. Join my group, my school group. It is more deeper clinical insights and cash-based clinic insights. A highly successful cash-based clinic based on results, which is the way it should be if you ask me. Not just standard physical therapy based on results. I publish statistically historic papers in readership, getting multiple times what AI says even the Lancet and the New England Journal of Medicine get, and certainly in the field of orthopedics. I posted that I pinned it to my social media. So anybody can look at the analytics, upload it to AI, and they are 3 to 5 years after publication, getting multiple times the views of the biggest journals in the world. So anyways, I teach this stuff. Join my school group, click below. And if you don't see it, go to weltonmethods.com and go to become a VIP member. Okay. All right. Anyways, okay. So today we are talking about what are we talking about? We are talking about okay. So if you read my statistically historic papers, if you read these papers, I give time frames for like my root cause of plantar fasciitis paper. I give time frames. I think, if I can remember correctly, it was like, I don't know, 8 to 12 weeks or something like that. People got better, right? But if I, if, but one of the things that I tell almost every patient is that you need to rest while we do this rehab. Okay. If the person doesn't rest, then what happens is that the time frames that people use that I publish or in my courses, the time frame that people use that people do are they skew. So like a plantar fasciitis patient that normally would take me 8 weeks, if you go out and you're like walking every day or worse, running, you're just ripping the plantar fascia. And usually I'm not worried about plantar fasciitis in here, I mean, I just use my protocols. But when it comes to people that are aggravated, you're just ripping it. You know what I'm saying? So another common thing is SI joint dysfunction. Okay, so I treat basically that's what I treat all day long. I treat other things. Most people have 2 to 3 issues in here, but the main reason people come to me is SI joint sacral torsion shear, right? And low back pain that nobody can figure out. It's mechanical. So hear that all the time, I got this back pain or whatever. I've had this done to me, that done to me, this done to me. I've had it for 20 years and it was mechanical because it didn't show up on an x-ray and MRI. I wrote a paper, root cause of SI joint dysfunction, root cause of sacral torsion shear, anterior sacral tilt. They are on my website, weltonmethods.com, under publications. Now, the real common one with that, in fact, I actually swear silently in my head when someone tells me that they are getting on an airplane. I find that inevitably like a significant portion of my patient go into a back spasm. Okay. If they are going on a long car ride, I find that to be a significant increase in back spasms. Meaning like I can't stand up. I have to take, you have to let them take 1 to 3 weeks off before they restart their exercise again. When I'm in Florida, when someone tells me they're going to Disney World, I'm like, crap. Why? Because they're walking all day long. And that much walking throws their back into spasm. What else? Cleaning their house. Okay, when they start to clean, it's an erratic motion, like this, that, and I find a high incidence of back spasms with that. Now, one of the other things that I find with back spasms is stress. Okay, so it's very interesting. It wasn't interesting at the time, but it was. I don't like to learn through my own pain. I've never been a fan of that crap. But so years ago, when I had an infant, he was on a changing table, right? I wasn't actually doing anything. I was literally just standing there, like making sure my child didn't fall off the changing table, right? And the next thing you know, like this, my back wrenched, like back fest, right? I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, so I called my wife over and I'm like, can you make sure? And I hobbled to my bed. Well, I'm a freaking physical therapist. And I laid there for 3 days because I couldn't work, because I couldn't stand up. And I'm like, what happened? Like, how did this happen? And I'm like, I wasn't doing anything, And then I realized I had kids that weren't sleeping. Anybody who's been through that, it's like Navy SEAL training. Kids that weren't sleeping, and then also Obamacare had just came in. So the business that I had was a hybrid type clinic. The cash-based business, half cash, whatever, just tanked, right? Because the reimbursement got cut from like 120 to like, if you're lucky, you got $50 copayment, And my back went into spasm, okay? So I realized after 3 days of laying there that it was actually stress related. This is an extreme example. It doesn't have to be like this. But I had a patient who was doing great. He spent like $30,000 on stem cell in another country for this back pain. They were all targeting, I don't know, whatever they were targeting. And he came to me, and the guy could barely walk. He was a soldier at the base here, was about to medically retire. And I'm like, no, don't do that. I'm like, you have SI joint dysfunction, so we need to, just stabilize, whatever. Anyways, in about 6 weeks, he was doing great. No limp, walking in. He was so happy, right? This is an extreme example. It doesn't have to be this extreme. But his sister calls and it cuts out while he's talking to her. And he heard mom die, right? Because it was cutting out. Mom's fine. And he literally had a panic attack right there. First one ever in his life. And he went into a full-blown back spasm, so he couldn't even stand up. Doesn't have to be that extreme. A lot of times stress, just people live at a high level of stress. And I believe there's a threshold, like I was at, that when you hit that threshold, this thing, it just locks down. If you check these people like I do, I think you'll find that they have SI joint sacral torsion shear, but it's just locked. Like it's an acute SI joint sacral torsion shear. So anyways, he is, so that was another example of stress. So in fact, the holiday season is coming. Now, I usually have about 10, maybe 20% of my patients that have back spasms, meaning, like I told somebody, do not go golfing. And while we do this SI rehab, right? They fall into the trap, they start to feel better. Next thing you know, we get a message in our clinic, oh my, I can't stand up, blah, 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 right? And I'm like, what happened? I went golfing. So this rehab is already a better, worse phenomenon, up and down process. But when people go golfing, whatever, play tennis with tennis elbow or something like that, it's like this, like that, if it works, So I shut people down, okay? With the exception of frozen shoulders, they have to use it. I shut people down and I make sure that they stay shut down. Okay, so therefore, we can get to the end result we're looking for with my protocols. So my protocols skew. Okay, now join the link below, school group. Okay, and And I have a clinical mentorship. If you got imposter syndrome or are tired of guessing, I got a clinical mentorship. And then I have a cash-based clinic membership, a 7-figure model, one therapist, you can add more, and generate 7 figures in a year based on clinical outcomes. It's very different. It's a hybrid clinical. I teach you the clinical and the cash-based business part. Okay. And I don't do sales tactics. I'm not a natural salesperson. I don't do sales tactics. I just let my results show the person on the first visit. Yeah, I know what I'm doing, you know? So anyways, that's that. All right. Peace. Everybody have a good day. Love you all.